Hello, and welcome to another edition of Your Bridge to Addiction Resources, a program that is sponsored by the People's Chronicles and the Council on Chemical Abuse. My name is Yvonne Stroman, and I'm the Community Program Specialist at the Council on Chemical Abuse. And today I have two guests with me that I'd really like them to introduce themselves, kind of tell us who they are in the community of Boyertown, and want to just speak with you about communities that are coming together to promote goodness within youth and for youth. So with me this morning, to my immediate left.
Okay, Marilee Cassidy, and I'm the school counseling coordinator and also the student assistance program coordinator for Boyertown Area School District.
Hello, I'm Rob Scaboria. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of the Boyertown Area School District, and thank you very much for having us on this program.
No, Rob, I need to say thank you to both you and Marilee for your willingness to come and talk to us a little bit about Boyertown Pays Task Force. And Boyertown Pays Task Force, you've been around. I'm going to ask if you kind of talk about how long you've been around and kind of what got you started, and particularly because this is something that is new, if I can say so, in terms of school districts really taking a look at how do we support young people before, during, and after school. And so if you can just kind of, how did Boyertown Pays get started?
Sure. Well, we started in about 2013. At that point, we were aware of some challenges in our community. Mm-hmm. We had learned that from our counselors, our teachers, our parents, as well as some of our supportive organizations and community police experts. All those things together led us to engage in the Pennsylvania Youth Survey. Mm-hmm. And we did that in 2013. We surveyed all students in grades 8, 10, and 12. Our goal was to give our students a voice to understand what they're experiencing as they're work in our community. And with those results, we started a task force that was gathered to interpret those results, share them, combine them with other information we have, and develop programs and services that could strengthen what we have in the Boyertown community.
And the PAY survey, this is a survey that is given to youth throughout the state of Pennsylvania, but schools can opt to take it or not. Is that correct? And so Boyertown, you kind of had a conversation and thought that this would be something that would be very invaluable in terms of information from young people, primarily because that information, the kids don't have to necessarily give identifiers. They don't have to write who they are, but can anonymously respond to those questions.
Exactly. And I think one of the other things, quite frankly, was that the state enabled us to take it without charge. And that was for the first time, so that was huge.
Good. Yeah, that helps. When that's an incentive. That's an incentive. Was there anything in that survey that was surprising to the Boyertown School District?
I think one of the things that we noticed as in the task force, as we kind of analyzed all of these results, we recognize, and it's in the news and that kind of thing, that there are issues with drugs, that kind of stuff, but it was more of the mental health issues, depression, anxiety, that kind of thing that kind of jumped out.
Okay. And when the task force came together, who are members of the task force?
We're very fortunate. We have a dedicated team that includes students, parents, teachers, administrators, and counselors. But in addition, we have local police officers, members of the law enforcement community, as well as experts in the field, such as representatives of the Council of Chemical Abuse, Caron Foundation, Creative Health, and other organizations that have stepped forward to partner with us and support us in a common mission.
Wonderful. Well, and so it sounds like you really engaged, all sectors of the community, and I appreciate and applaud your response in terms of saying students are available and they come to the table to just kind of give their input. Because oftentimes, I think we as adults, we kind of miss that boat when we don't allow young people to kind of give their input. And what were they surprised by the responses in the survey as young people when you mention issues related to mental health?
To be honest, I don't know that they were any more surprised or no wait, what do I want to say? They were probably a little less surprised
Okay.
Right.
than the adults.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they did bring is, and all the adults in the group, they bring an amazing amount of knowledge and energy to the group, and really have helped our task force focus and make sure that their voice is heard
Yeah.
throughout all that we do.
Yeah. Because as a result of that task force coming together, there were some things that Boyertown PACE now implements in that community, which I think is very, very important, such as the medication drop boxes. I was able to see a YouTube video of that. How did you come to determine what those activities and programs were?
Sure. Well,
Okay.
Thank you.
We ended up having several different subgroups in the task force, and it would be community kind of activities, communication, law enforcement, and the educational piece.
Mm-hmm.
So with those 4 different groups, we had, a lot of people working together to kind of engage all of those pieces. And I think having that community piece of it, it's not just the school.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you kind of talk about some of the other projects and programs that that you've been able to implement as a result of bringing this task force together?
Sure. And we'll work together on this one.
Yeah.
We each have different areas that I think we work more closely with. You had mentioned the drop boxes, and that's one of the programs we're very proud of. We have 4 currently in the community. They're at the Valley Police Department, at the Boyertown Borough Police Department. They're also at the Douglas Montgomery Police Department and the New Hanover Police Department.
Okay.
And those, we've marketed those aggressively. We've shared that information. We've worked with our township officials so they could send that out with things like sewer bills or water bills that everyone
great.
gets.
Mm-hmm.
We've promoted it on our website, and as you mentioned, we did a public service video that was filmed by one of our teachers, Mr. Bill Cherkasky, as well as our students. And they put together the video with Dr. Fadley as well as Chief McEwen from the New Hanover Police Department to help people learn about the dangers of medication, and if those materials are left unguarded, what kind of impact it can have on a community.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been very pleased with that. In addition, another program we've been proud of is trying to come up with some additional healthy activities for students, especially in those middle grades of about 4th to 8th, to do after school. One program is we were able to get grant funding through the Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation, and 2 days a week we have a bus that goes to both of our junior high schools. Any student can get on the bus, and it goes directly to the Boyertown YMCA, where they're prepared to work with the students in recreational and other healthy activities. One more program we're proud of is through this, the group of students formed Students Against Destructive Decisions group at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been really important to our work because the students are much better suited to identify how students learn, what will be effective in spreading a message, amongst people that are 14 to 18 years old. And through their leadership, that group has charted several of their own initiatives around awareness and programs and services, not just at the high school, but in all levels of the community. So those are a few that we're proud of.
Yeah. We also, something we're really very excited about, last year we started a pilot program at one of our elementary schools, at Gilbertsville Elementary, for the Elementary Student Assistance Program. Because one thing that we've been noticing, and it came up in conversation at the task force as well, was that the counselors, the teachers, they're recognizing issues with students at younger and younger levels. Mm-hmm. And again, it's kind of that anxiety piece, and those kinds of things. So we did the pilot at Gilbertsville Elementary. It was successful, and the really exciting part of this now is that we'll have elementary student assistance program at every one of our 7 elementary schools this coming year.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, that's tremendous.
Yeah. You're talking about, and so just kind of want to tap your professional knowledge about young people. There seems to be, and I could probably be off the mark with this, but there seems to be that kids are getting younger in the way of being identified with some mental health concerns, and how they are able to cope. It manifests itself sometimes in inappropriate behavior, but it sounds like that Boyertown, through that PAYS and through the help of young people, are recognizing the need to have that earlier implemented in the elementary schools, versus sometimes schools will wait till middle school or high school. How did you come to that determination? You did a pilot, but recognizing the board must be very, very enthused and supportive of those efforts to make sure that young people, when you talk about No Child Left Behind, that not only academically, but emotionally, their well-being is pivotal for that as well.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, two things that you mentioned. I'll take the first and then maybe hand it off to Marilee.
Okay.
About the board, we are fortunate that one of our school board members, John Landino, serves on the task force. So we've been very well connected with the school board, and they've given us the opportunity to make presentations at public school board meetings and share in some of the development and the programs that the group has worked on. But Yvonne, one thing you mentioned that I think is of note is talking about helping students cope and learn strategies. And resiliency is something that I know Marilee and our counselors, as well as a program that Dr. Ginsburg came and helped us with last year, are some of those key ideas that the group has been working on, and maybe Marilee could explain them a little better than I can.
Yeah, we've tried to reach out to the counselors over the years to parents and provide different kinds of informational sessions for them. And so we've talked about prescription drug abuse. We've talked about mental health issues. Suicide has been another topic. And that kind of thing. And we've done that over the years. I think as a result of the task force, what we're seeing now is also more of a, not just, okay, here's the information, flyer goes home to parents, but more of a community involvement. And so we've had presentations with facilitators from care and treatment centers, from counsel on chemical abuse, have come and done community presentations. Instead of housing these, and hosting these at school, we've gone to Boyertown Area Multi-Service, to their community room, to make it more of a community focus. That this isn't just about school, this is about community. So we're trying to continue with the parent information, community information kinds of initiatives, and to keep making that broader and to keep getting this information out to people.
That's wonderful. That's great. And I also saw in your task force summary that you are also looking at a school resource officer. So can you kind of talk a little bit about what a school resource officer is, and then what got you to that conclusion?
Sure. We're very fortunate. Although we're a large district of 100 square miles, we
You're
have
the second largest, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you are the second largest school district in Berks County.
Yes,
so,
7,000 students spread out over 100 square miles, and we work with several police jurisdictions. Some might think that's challenging, but we have a great relationship. We have a monthly meeting that takes place where each of the police organizations sits down with our high school principals and assistant principals and our junior high principals, and they work on issues and they share their knowledge. They help us learn what they've learned in their training, and we help them with what we've learned in our schools. They regularly visit our schools and are visible and a positive part of our community. We have 2 police chiefs that have served on this task force for 3 years.
Wonderful.
So in those discussions, one thing we did want to explore perhaps in a pilot program would be a school resource officer, which would be a community employed officer by one of the police jurisdictions, but would be able to spend part or all of their day in some of our schools, really focusing in 2 areas: proactively building relationships with youth, teaching, getting into classrooms to provide information, and then also to be there in support in case there's a time of need. So we're exploring funding through the Safe Schools grant. We anticipate applying this school year, and if successful, we could have a school resource officer perhaps in the 17-18 school year serving our district.
That's great. That's great. Boyertown Pays Task Force, and last November of 2015, was the recipient of the Bud Haynes Community Award through the Council on Chemical Abuse during our annual conference. And I think it's worth noting to say that Boyertown Pays Task Force are trailblazers. You're trailblazers in the way of what you've collectively been able to do over the last couple years in terms of getting the community engaged and actively involved. Parents, how are you containing or maintaining parent involvement in this?
In the task force, we have parents who have volunteered to be part of that task force, and I think there's that network of parents who, they talk. We try to get the information out, to all of the parents via the
Absolutely.
website, principal newsletters, that kind of thing. That here are the things that are going on, and here's how you can be involved.
That's
One
great.
area we've been successful with parents is if anybody's had children in school, sometimes especially at the junior high and high school level, you have nights that you need to be there, maybe to go over schedules or learn about what your children are doing. So we've capitalized and done programs through our counseling department at many of those nights where we have several hundred parents in the buildings. And with a captive audience, sometimes that's a way to make sure that they're getting some of the key pieces of information on a night when we already have them there. They don't have to add an extra night to their schedule. And so that's been successful as well.
That's wonderful. So let me ask you both individually, because you've done a number of things in terms of projects, activities, programs. For you, what is one of those things that might be you're most proud of, that you want to just say, put a gold sticker up there and just say, yeah, we were able to do that?
You go first.
Wow. There's a bunch of stuff. I think probably in like a practical sense, the medication drop boxes, like that was absolutely huge. And the other thing, from my perspective as a counselor, I think the getting services to younger and younger children that's really key, because hopefully from the student assistance program point of view, hopefully if we can get some support services for students at younger ages, we won't have as many SAP referrals when they get to the high school, and that you can get kids on a good path. So I think I'm really excited.
That's important.
Yeah. I think from my end, just the overall community involvement. When we first did the survey, we were a little scared. Asking your students very difficult questions. We weren't sure how our community would react. Yet after 3 years, when we look at the group that gathers at the table, we have very talented individuals that are giving up their time, sharing their expertise. Oftentimes at a meeting, groups will get together and say, hey, I have funding and I have a program and I have this event, how can we work together? So we feel that we've opened some doors, we've allowed people to connect, we've been able to use resources and capitalize as opposed to being redundant versus other services that may already be there in our community. So I believe we have a good structure in place to have continued success.
That's great. And one of the things, Rob, I just want to piggyback on something that you talked about in terms of taking that risk. You thought, I think, that probably as the board and administration, what were going to be the outcome of some of these questions, but you took the risk because you said you cared about kids. We care about our community, we care about our young people and where they're growing up, and we really need to know if we're going to be able to implement something and do something on their behalf, we need to know what is happening with them, and so how we can help. And it sounds like, as a result of that, you were very, very proactive. Along with that, I just kind of want to ask you, how has this impacted you personally and professionally, being part of the Berks or the Boyertown Pays Task Force? Any thought to that?
I think it's reinforced for me the sense of community in Boyertown, and the caring, that's there for all of our students, and it really. It's a neat thing to see the people in the task force working together, and having discussions and looking at some information that maybe is kind of tough, but to, okay, how are we going to get through this together?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been a really good thing for me. It just kind of reinforced that community feeling.
That's great.
One thing you hear about in Boyertown, one of the mottos is it's a great place to work, learn, and live.
Mm-hmm.
I think this group reinforced that for me as well. This is a group of people that when there are challenges, will gather, will roll up their sleeves, will volunteer, and focus on our strengths. And remember that while we have challenges, most of our students and most of our community members are making excellent choices every day.
Yeah.
And our goal is to build in a positive way, make sure that everyone has access to those same supports, because we all know we come into this world and live in this world without the same supports. And our goal has been to spread those resources and supports to all, but at the same time remembering we have a very good community full of people making excellent choices, and we just want to keep improving that.
Great. So then, having said that, what's next? What's next for Boyertown Pays?
Well, one of the things that we've talked about and we've been trying to kind of get going is a positive messaging,
Mm-hmm.
kind of the positive social norming, which is exactly, going back to what Rob said about there are a lot of kids out there, the majority, who are making good choices. And we want kids to know that instead of going, well, everybody does it,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to. But if we can get that social norming going, I think that would be great.
That's great.
One thing I'm excited about is one of our parents came forward at one of the meetings, and many of us, have through our employers have a name identification card,
Mm-hmm.
and he used his as an example. And he said, the other day at work, somebody was having trouble, and right on the back of the card was all the information that person needed if they were in a time of need. And so we worked together, and this year we have 1,600 students at the high school, and on the back of their student ID will be key information that was selected by our counselors, resources for them to use. And our junior high students, because they don't carry an identification card, will have it right in the binder, right in the front cover of their binder. So, a little idea like that, 3,200 students this year will have a new set of information in front of them. And that's the power of this group, that all ideas are welcome. And we have the right people at the table to put those ideas into action.
Yeah, and I think it sends the message to young people: you're worth the investment. You're worth having information, valuable information, and a toolbox, something in your toolbox that you will have with you all school year long and even throughout the weekend, that you're worth the investment. Absolutely. And I think that is just very applaudable for the work that you're doing. If there is somebody who may not be affiliated with the Boyertown, I keep saying Berks County, Boyertown Pays Task Force, but would like to be, how can somebody perhaps get in touch and say, hey, I'm hearing of the great work that you're doing and I want to be part of this?
I would just say, please get in touch with myself, Rob Scaboria, or Marilee Cassidy, and there's a number of ways you can do that. You can go on our website at boyertownasd.org, contact us through email, or you can reach us by phone, 610-369-7402. If you're interested in getting involved with the task force, let us know, and we'll certainly link you to one of our subgroups or committees and match your skills to one of the goals of the task force.
Well, Marilee and Rob, it has been my pleasure to sit and talk with you. And again, just kudos to you for the great work that you're doing in the Boyertown area. And I just like to say, if those that are watching this might be interested in learning more about the Council on Chemical Abuse, you're welcome to visit our website at www.cocaberks.org. That's COCABERKS.org. Or contact us at 610-376-8669. My time is up. I'm Yvonne Stroman. This is your Bridge to Addiction Resources. Thank you.
Check back every week for a new story with your Bridge to Addiction Resources. You can call 610-376-8669 or visit online at cocaberks.org. COCABERKS.org. Be sure to like and follow the Council on Chemical Abuse on Facebook and Twitter.